Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network. My name is Rob Howden, joined by David Cole for another edition of the EKN Debrief. It is episode number 54. It's August the 14th, 2019. David and I have both made it home after our road trips back from Newcastle Motorsports Park and the final round of the 2019 SuperKarts USA Pro Tour Summer Nationals. Lots to talk about. It's going to be a long podcast for sure. We'll go through all the categories. We'll talk paddock pass. We'll wrap up some of the stuff that happened overview-wise first, and then, of course, capping off with our wrap-up at the end of the day. And then we'll look forward to the other events we have in the EKN Trackside Live race calendar. All right, this week's show, folks, presented by Franklin Motorsports. Franklin Motorsports is a leader in the karting industry with over 50 years of combined karting experience, and they can provide you with everything you need to go racing. With a large online product selection, select track support events, and a wide variety of shop services, Franklin Motorsports is your complete karting source. They specialize in IAME engines, tilt seats, and of course, their championship-winning Merlin chassis. They've been supplying racers with start-to-finish support at race events for years, from providing a helping hand on a weekday test outing or at a club event to full arrive and drive packages at the highest level of karting competition. For all things karting, visit franklinkart.com. All right, David Cole, we are a couple days. It's Wednesday right now, August the 14th. Travel day was Monday. Back in the office to thrash and try to get caught up. You wrapped up, obviously, the race reports, that kind of thing. Getting the audio ready from our EKN trackside to get that up on the radio network later on. But man, just bottom line was pretty damn good weekend in terms of no red flags, great weather, awesome racing, and a number of the championships going down to Championship Sunday. That's really all you can ask for.
It kind of went by a blur since I didn't get there till Friday morning. So
that's true.
I'm still kind of, I definitely think I like vacation after the Summer Nationals rather than before. I think I've learned that now because it just, getting there late Friday morning, really not till Friday noon. So I was kind of catching up on everything, and we did our broadcast that afternoon, did the photos as usual. And then boom, it was Sunday night and we were eating Chop Chop. And it was like, wow, that went by quick.
That's it. It did. Yeah. Well, not unlike, all of the month of July, and now we're already halfway through August.
Exactly. It's just like, it's like a avalanche. It just won't slow down. It just seems like the racing season just is continuing to just fall down and fall down and fall down. And we're trying to catch up with everything. And it's been fun and exciting, but it's been a blur.
Well, it's crazy. Between now and the first week of October, I have 3 Road to Indy IndyCar races and 3 karting events still to do. And all of a sudden, that when we're all done, it's going to be October the 6th or 7th, and you and I are going to be on a hiatus until we get to SuperNats. I feel like I'm lining up for this hardcore run. I got this weekend off, and then I'm on for a couple, and then one off, and then on for I think 4 in a row. And I just feel like, man, this is going to be a tough run. But then I also have a feeling that I'm going to wake up one morning and it's going to be the middle of October and I'm going to be wondering what to do. You know what I mean?
I think we do that on Wednesdays anyways,
That's
right?
True. Yeah, I wonder where we are. That's what we do on Wednesdays. Let's jump into this, Dave. A quick overview of this year's Summer Nationals. 10th season of the SuperKarts USA Pro Tour comes to a close. The 10th running of the Summer Nationals as well. Of course, that first year in 2010, it was Spring Nats, Summer Nats, Super Nats. This particular year, though, of course, since starting the Winter Nats a couple of years ago, we were in Cal Speed in Fontana in early March. We were at the Spring Nats in the first week of May at the Utah Motorsports campus. Rounds 5 and 6, though, here back at Newcastle again, and a new track layout, but 12 different categories battling it out for a championship.
It was, and it was shockingly, really massive amount of numbers compared to what we saw earlier in the year. We saw 205 at the Winter Nationals. We saw only 185 at the Spring Nationals, but Summer Nationals came up with 256 entries total for the weekend. So you compare that to the others. Last year it's up from last year 11 entries where it only had 9 categories, and then 2017, which is right now the Pro Tour record at 200 261 with only 9 classes. It was a really stout event, a great way to end the Pro Tour with the amount of numbers and the competitiveness that was in pretty much every category that we had.
Yeah, more categories, as you said. Now, pretty much the same amount of race groups to a certain extent. I think a little, maybe 1 or 2 more race groups because you got your G1 and G2 running together. You got the Pro 1 and Pro 2 running together. We have, of course, the Supermaster category and X30 as well. But numbers pretty strong. We're still, of course, seeing the lesser amounts we had in the shifter cart categories. But actually, David, a pretty good weekend in terms of the IAME SSC 175 and that program kind of showing that there is growth and it is moving in the right direction with 41 drivers in total. I think maybe even Pro 1 being solid because Pro 1 and Pro 2, 32 in what is really a combined pro shifter class.
Yeah, and you look at the numbers, we had the largest, as you said, in the shifters of the year. We had 41 shifters, and then we had the largest in KA 100 as well, in 40 of those with the junior and senior combined. So yeah, this weekend just brought in the massive amount of numbers, not to mention an increase in the X30 and Swift categories as well. So it was just an increase all around. So that helped for the entry total to be close to our record. Not quite there, but as you said, that Pro Shifter 1 and Pro Shifter 2 group with the combined numbers of 32 drivers was amazing to see, and it had a lot to do with again the Great Lakes Pro Kart Challenge that began this season. Their focus was around shifters. It
was.
We already know there's plenty of Swift rate competitors out there. There's plenty of X30 competitors out there. They really wanted to focus on growing that shifter categories here in the Midwest.
Well, and all in all, when everybody arrived, as you said, David, some great numbers on the weekend, 256 total. Beautiful weather. Like number one, anytime you go to a race at Newcastle, especially when it's in the middle of July or August, you got to expect high temps, upper 80s, maybe in the 90s. It's going to be high humidity. We were actually pretty solid. I think the one day Saturday, I don't know if Saturday just got over 80. I think it was 88 or 81. I got up to 85 on Sunday, but the humidity was kind of in the middle between 40 and 60 kind of thing. And we had a good breeze, a little bit of wind for most of the weekend. So really almost perfect racing weather for what you can expect from Indiana in the middle of summer, right?
Yeah, Sunday was a bit warmer than the other 2 days. I think there was less of a breeze. And as you said, I think the humidity climbed up there a little bit. And as you said, we avoided typically in Indiana, we go to Newcastle, we expect to see some type of storm throughout a race weekend, especially in a big race weekend. And luckily we were able to avoid that again. I think that the August date is pretty good weather-wise, and we've been able to avoid any type of weather situations where compared to, say, May weekend at Newcastle, it could be a little bit sketchy then.
Interesting to look at the numbers, as you said, a steady rise through the year for Micro Swift. Started with 9 at the Winter Nats, went to 13, up to 23 for the Summer Nats. Mini Swift pretty much leveled off, 34 to start, 32 in the middle, and then 36 to finish. Pretty much the same for X30 Junior. We saw a good finish for X30 Senior. X30 Masters, 8 for the first 2 races, 13 at the Summer Nats. I thought that was pretty good. Pro 1 and Pro 2, obviously some growth near the end of the year. And the same thing with X30, KA 100 Senior, 13, 13, and 21. Of course, Newcastle more kind of the home of a lot of KA drivers in that, let's say anywhere between a 1 to an 8 hours, race, or what do you call it, driving distance around the track. So bottom line is Newcastle's a pretty good place to have any kind of race because people want to race there. There's a lot of drivers within the driving distance to be there. And again, just a great place to kick off, or rather wrap up the Pro Tour each year.
Yeah, it's, as you said, Charlotte's a 10-hour drive, I believe, so it's not far for that. Wisconsin, yep. Minnesota, even if you look south, Texas isn't that far as well too. So it's able to draw a centrally located facility for the eastern half of the country. And the West Coast guys love coming this way. They love visiting Newcastle because it for one, it has grass. That's typically a good good thing. And again, Mike Adams and the entire and Mark Dismore and the entire crew that is Newcastle Motorsports Park, they welcome everybody with open arms.
No doubt about that. All right, folks, we're underway. Episode number 54 of the EKN Debrief. Dave Cole and I talking about the finale of the SuperKarts USA Pro Tour, the 10th running of the Summer Nats at Newcastle Motorsports Park. Stick with us. When we come back after this break, we'll jump in to the Paddock Pass. In a sport where the difference between winning and losing is measured in hundredths of a second, you can't afford to leave anything on the table. You invest in the best equipment, the latest components, and top-of-the-line data acquisition systems. Anything to find one more tenth, right? I'll tell you right now, the best investment you could ever make is in yourself. If you want to improve your results, it's time for professional instruction and coaching at the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. Located at the new state-of-the-art Speed Sports Racing Park just north of Houston, the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy uses the very best equipment, Burrell Art Carts. They offer half-day, 1-day, 2-day, and 3-day clinics. They have a one-on-one student-to-instructor ratio, and they will design a customized curriculum for each student. Alan Rudolph is one of the most respected people in the sport, and he has nearly 20 years' experience training drivers, including Chase Elliott, Neil Alberico, Austin Versteeg, and Sabre Cook, and rising stars like Pietro Fittipaldi. Train with a champion with almost 30 years of racing experience to get proven results. Start off your season with a driver tune-up. Tune up your season with some driver coaching. Or get ready for the big races by training with the best. Reserve your dates now by calling 866-607-RACE. That's 866-607-7223. For more information, visit speedsportsracingpark.com/racing-academy. The shift is on to a new brand and a new way of thinking. The Croc promotion has taken American karting by storm, and simply put, we have the best kart on the market. We've won and continue to win national and regional races with a revolving door of drivers. Myers, Bedozo, French, Musgrave, and we're ready to dominate the rest of the 2019 season. We just want to win. That's it. Plain and simple. Our dynamic R&D program is more aggressive than any other manufacturer, and we're the only company focused on building the perfect chassis for American tracks, engines, and tires. Why race a kart made for Europeans? We're testing prototypes for American racing. We're breaking the mold. Croc Promotion is all about supporting dedicated and talented young drivers and winning races. That's Croc Promotion USA. That's Mad Old Nut Racing. We just want to win, plain and simple. No BS. Let us spend our time and money developing the chassis so that you can win. You've heard and read about us. We're the Rawlson Performance Group. We race to win. After putting all 8 of our X30 senior drivers in the main at last year's SCUSA Super Nationals, we're the tent you need to be under this November. We have just 4 spots available, so contact us today to lock in one of our final opportunities. We may be prepping for Las Vegas, but it's also time to talk about 2020. Joining the Rawlson Performance Group is the obvious choice to take your racing to the next level. Our industry-leading driver development is provided by our staff of multi-time national champions, Super Nationals winners, and former Team USA members. And at the same time, RPG continues to be a national-level powerhouse race team. Our goal is to help you raise your game and win races. In 2020, we'll be racing in the SCUSA Winter Series, Pro Tour, and California Pro Kart Challenge, as well as the IKF Northwest region. If you want to fight for championships or want to improve your skills and your chances to win, the answer is to call RPG at 503-260-4514. We do have different levels of programs available for the IKF Sprint Grand Nationals at Pat's Acres on the September 20, 21-22 weekend. So if you want to get a head start on 2020, come up and join us and take your shot at winning a Duffy, one of the most prestigious trophies in the sport. We're the Rawlson Performance Group. We race to win. Welcome back to episode number 54 of the EKN Debrief. Rob Howden alongside David Cole. We are focusing on the SCUSA Summer Nationals, final round of the 2019 SCUSA Pro Tour. Into the Paddock Pass now, presented today by MG Tires. As a Brazilian company founded in 1989, MG Tires soon became one of the main kart tire manufacturers in the world. MG develops its products with the needs of all drivers in mind, from beginners to the most experienced, always focusing on quality and high performance. Kartsport North America is the importer and distributor of MG Tires, supplying and supporting the spec tire programs in such series as the United States Pro Kart Series, Route 66 Sprint Series, and the Sunshine State Karting Challenge. For more information on MG Tires, contact Eric Jones at Kartsport North America. All right, DC, let's jump into the Paddock Pass. First and foremost, a lot of chatter coming into this event about SCUSA changing the track layout. They decided to come up with the Super Mile. It kind of used a bit of the oval in the back around the outside of the scale house and the tech barn. They were going to bring them straight back in. They decided to use the cell tower corner again. They added that technical part of the racetrack back in a little later. But the bottom line was that I know there were some mixed reviews. Lots of the people I talked to liked the new challenge. You?
Yeah, it was kind of the similar feedback I received when talking with people. Obviously, adding the cell tower corner helped, I think, in adding technical portion. But then when you got through the ski jump, you saw, man, it's pretty technical when you were out there watching the karts go flying over the hill and into the tight section that's at the bottom there. So that was a bit technical. So, I mean, I don't think they needed the cell phone tower corner section. They didn't need it, but I think it added to added a little bit more of a passing zone, because if you came straight out of the ski jump, the left-hander there wasn't really much of a passing zone as much as you see with the cell tower corner being a great passing opportunity, especially in the X30 categories.
You know, David, I think the tower corner, the way they used it, provides really two good opportunities to pass, right? Because you got the double kind of right-hander, so you can pass on the entrance to that, mid-corner through that. Also, of course, into turn 10 hairpin in that layout is turn 10. That left-hand hairpin, you're able to pass there as well. We saw passes everywhere. We saw passes going into the ski jump. We saw it coming out of the ski jump area, that kind of combination, that 5, 6, 7 combination. All in all, I thought it was a really good layout, and I think that it was exciting to watch.
Yeah,
and great photos and video.
It was, and you said the double rights there are really the most technical part of that section, because most everybody can get through a hairpin, but it's getting through those double rights and not losing speed. Because if you do lose speed, then you're going to get passed through that left-hand hairpin there. So it's that's probably the most when you look at the national layout itself, that is the most technical part of the track.
Let's talk a little bit about the championship battles going into the weekend, because, man, there was some really close fights. There was obviously guys knew what they needed to do, certain guys. The one that comes to mind with me, because you were working your spreadsheet like crazy, was KA100 Senior. We had 4 drivers, I think, leading the championship at one point on the racetrack during the main event, just based on where they were running on the racetrack.
We had that battle. We had battles in KA100 Junior, Mini Swift, and then of course the biggest battle that we were really watching was what was going on with Pro Shifter coming into the weekend.
It was solid. I like the fact that a lot of them went to Championship Sunday. It's not that I want to hear like double points for Championship Sunday like they do with IndyCar or do with some other programs with double points. But I like the way the championship shook down. I like the fact that, Dave, there were so many points up for grabs. Kyle Wick ends up getting the championship in Pro 1, but he ended up getting the pole on Sunday, right? All those bonus points, man, are so crucial.
Yeah, qualifying is very crucial. Though now the way they've adjusted the pre-final points, giving 100 points to the winner, and it trickling down all the way through 42nd. I believe. Let me look at it real quick. 40th, it gets 5 points. So it used to be only the top 10 got points, where it was 50 points down to 5 points to 10th, and so now it's provided a little bit more drama and provided more opportunities for drivers to take advantage of a better pre-final finish than others could. And again, I think, in other, I think most categories were still open going in Sunday morning, aside from a handful, from 4 or 5 of them. So it provided some great drama on Sunday.
Well, do you want to jump into a little bit of the social media buzz?
Well, that's what I was getting at with the Pro Shifter one. Kind of the the championship battle, because obviously with Andrew Budozo leading the championship, it was him leaving Croc Promotion USA after Spring Nats and moving over to Solo Kart USA. That was kind of the focal point going in on the weekend. And I was gone on vacation for the Great Lakes Pro Kart Challenge weekend, so I had no idea what had been going on all week long. Basically, I kind of kept up with things, what was going on social media, but I got there Friday, and you're telling me all about what's going on with Budozo.
It was pretty interesting. Obviously, Budozo was with Solo Karts. I found out through my sources that he had essentially parted ways with the Solo Kart guys. I reached out to them. They confirmed indeed that was the case. Andrew's telling me that he still had a Solo Kart that he was potentially going to test on Thursday. Plus, he had another kart there. And of course, through social media and finding out, talking to the drivers at Croc Promotion, that was a Croc chassis that he had. Not sure where he got it from, but he had a Croc chassis. I think he could have got it from somebody in Florida. It's a different color, checkered motorsports graphics on it. Of course, he's running with his family team again for having left Solo Kart. And so the chassis was blue. They were calling it potentially the BTM. I was told coming in it could be the CM chassis. It was very, there's a lot of intrigue, and there was a lot of play online, social media wise, Facebook wise, Instagram wise, from the Croc Promotion side that made things interesting for sure. Hey, you know what? We always talk about wanting to be like Supercross. Well, there's lots of drama in Supercross. We had lots of drama this past weekend. I think that's the best way to put it.
I think we just call it as it is. I think Todd Ullman is no stranger to controversy at all. He wants to talk. He's talking the talk, because right now they're walking the walk.
They are.
Mentality.
Damn, they are.
They came in there with 3 of the 4 victories. Andrew got 2 of them. AJ Myers had 1 of them. And they spent basically since the month of May until we got into the weekend with getting Billy Musgrave and getting Jake French, getting those 2 entwined together and just on track nearly every single day of the week, and just making sure that they were ready to go when Summer Nats came. And I think, obviously Andrew and Todd have different visions and different paths that they want to go, and that didn't work out. And same along with probably with AJ Myers and Todd as well too. As we talked about right after Myers had his departure from Croc Promotions, and that kind of stirred up some things on social media as well too. So Todd has his way of how he wants to do things, and that's the way he's going to go and approach it. And some people agree with it, some people don't, and I think the majority don't. Judging by just what was on social media and what people talked about, and I think he still wants the best for AJ Myers and Andrew Budozo, but when your former driver shows up with a similar chassis that you've had, it makes things a little bit awkward.
Well, it definitely fuels the fire, right? There was ammunition there for Todd to grab on social media, and he did. He was he's a passionate guy in terms of trying to win. He's spending a lot of money to go racing, and he's put a couple of the best drivers, shifter car drivers we've seen in the last couple of years, come together. Jake French and Billy Musgrave have formed a good friendship, and it seems to me, and David, you and I have watched this for many years, different drivers at teams, these guys feed off each other. There's no doubt about it, they sit down, they debrief with each other. Billy was telling me, and Jake were telling me that when Billy was out there running in the X30, that Jake could go try to watch some corners as well to see what he could see from the sidelines. And you simply can't discount what the Croc guys have done. Like you said, they won 5 of 6 races. French dominated the weekend, won both races in Pro Shifter 1. Billy was second in both races. They flat dominated the weekend. It's just...
Yeah, and the same goes along with CRG Nordam. They went and they got AJ Myers because he was available. People could have, said the same thing that well, CRG's going after only the best guys. Why aren't they, bringing in some other guys? Well, if you want to win, you go get the best guys. And so that's kind of, what you need to do in racing. It's not like, Formula One, Ferrari's going after some guy who just finished fifth in a F3 race. They're trying to get the best drivers to be in their cars. Yep. And that's what race teams are going to do. Even look at Rollison Performance Group. They grabbed the 3-time champion at the beginning of the year because he was the best guy in X30 to lead their team in that category as well. So it's funny and it's interesting to watch, and it's interesting to see how people react to how things unfold when you have this type of drama at the racetrack.
Hey, you know what? We were able to sit back and kind of laugh at some of it and watch some of the fire getting fueled, but I thought it was exciting. It was interesting. David, obviously some chatter within the paddock as well. Again, this is the Paddock Pass presented by MG Tires today. It's talking about 2020, right? Everybody, I think we know we're probably coming back to Newcastle for the Summer Nats.
Yes, that's confirmed. Yeah.
So no confirmation yet on Winter Nats or Spring Nationals, and hearing some of the scuttlebutt, although no confirmation, the rumor going around that we're heading back to New Orleans potentially for the Winter Nationals.
Yeah, that was a couple of rumors that we heard. Again, no confirmation from Supercarts USA as to where we are going for the Winter Nationals or Spring Nats. Obviously, they confirmed their dates for the 2020 season about a few weeks before we headed to Newcastle. But Great Lakes Pro Kart Challenge also confirmed their 2020 dates, going 4 weekends next year as well as they did this year. And that one of their dates just happens to be before the Winter Nats dates. So you got to expect that they're going to be at the same facility the weekend prior. And people are speculating that it's going to be at NOLA, which I don't know. Is Great Lakes down in Mississippi?
I'm not sure which Great Lake is all the way down there. That's for sure. Well, I don't know.
Does something drain into the Mississippi? Yeah, the Lake Michigan kind of drains in the Mississippi somehow, right?
I don't know. It's not my job.
I don't have geography lessons.
I don't think it does. I think a Great Lake is a Great Lake.
There you go. Yeah, that makes sense now. So, all right, we'll see what happens. I'm sure we'll have, probably something by September, maybe. For sure, probably before Super Nationals, maybe even October.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see something fall in September. That would not surprise me at all. Dave, let's hit a couple more segments of the Paddock Pass. One of the things that we saw, actually, but we didn't see it happen before we got there. And man, every track we go to, we hear the race officials and I'm saying it on the PA, stay off your scooters, stay off your razors. You're not allowed to have any kind of vehicles, no bikes, no whatever in the paddock, because there's a reason for it. I know parents like to let the razor babysit the kids, so they're hauling ass around the paddock, but hey, one of the top drivers in the country, top junior drivers, ends up getting in an accident on a razor, and a pretty serious wrist injury to Luca Mars. Hard to see that, knowing that you just don't want the kids playing around on those things, but kids will be kids, I guess, right?
It's not the first. It happened 2 weeks before that at USPKS, where they parked all those razors and scooters. Same at GoPro, we had an incident there. So I almost think this has to be kind of a regulation that needs to be done everywhere. I think we just need to get rid of scooters and razors and anything with wheels on it that isn't related to karting. I think we just need to get rid of. Unless you're a parent, an 18-year-old, or have a condition that requires you to be in either a scooter or something, or a bike, or even a golf cart. I think it'll make things a lot easier. And again, it takes away from the insurance risk, because again, anything that happens while you're at the racetrack, it still scores against the sport of karting. So that's not, you don't want all these insurance claims being accumulated over these scooters. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I agree. A little bit of star power in the paddock this weekend.
Yeah, it was really cool to see. And again, until I saw all the pictures coming up on social media, I had no idea that there was a relationship between Brett Harrelson of Nash Motorsports and Woody Harrelson of TV and movies.
Cheers, baby.
Cheers was it. Again, White Men Can't Jump, one of my favorite Woody Harrelson movies of all time. Kingpin as well. That's probably number 2.
Yeah.
I think you had another one.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them as well. I can't think of
Friends with Benefits. I think is the one that you came up with.
I think that's one of them as well. I think one of the ones like 2010. There's one about the world ending. He's in that too, which is funny.
He was also in the HBO show, I believe. I can't think of it.
Let me just do it quick.
He was alongside Matthew McConaughey, and they were like detectives or something. True Detective,
really,
wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh, there you go. I'm popping up the IM. Anyways, I'll grab that. Woody Harrelson. His was there. The whole family was there, which I thought was super cool. The family was there. Brett's mom was there as well. It was cool. I thought it was awesome to see him there.
And he was there both Saturday and Sunday too, because we kept seeing all these photos coming up on Saturday. I'm like, man, we missed it. We missed our chance to see Woody. And then we saw more pictures coming up on Sunday with different outfits. I'm like, oh, he must be here again. This is awesome.
I can't believe he didn't come and say hi to us, right?
Well, we're not quite, A-list celebrities yet.
So listen. So he was in Solo, a Star Wars story. I don't remember him being in that, but he was.
Oh yeah, no, he was good in that. Yeah, I remember that.
He said he was Beckett. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, I got that. Yeah. Let me scroll back down here. What else? Lost in London. A little Saturday Night Live act. True Detective, like you said. He was in the Hunger Games.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of those.
He's Friends with Benefits, 2012. That's what I'm talking about. He was in Zombieland too. Remember, he's in Zombieland. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, never saw that again too.
He was in Semi-Pro. You've had to see Semi-Pro, right?
Oh yeah.
No Country for Old Men. My God, look at that! Like you just got to keep scrolling down.
I think it's the late 80s when he started, right? With Cheers.
He was in Austin Powers as himself.
Of course. Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, the bottom line was it was a cool deal for Brett to have the family there. I think Brett's mom was there as well. I think they grew up. Brett told me they grew up in Ohio or something to that extent. Yep. So yeah, they all came out, and it wasn't just like I'm here for a half an hour. It was I'm going to come and hang out, watch my brother.
Yeah, I think it had to be like just outside Cincinnati or something like that, like Lebanon or something.
Well, the bottom line, I think he said Lebanon, Ohio. Bottom line is that they were there all weekend. Lots of people taking pictures, and good for Brett. He was bad fast because we'll talk more about that in the race report. But Brett has really improved his racecraft and his speed. And he was in the interview he and I did on the podium. He was brutally honest with that, with the fact that he figured that a year and a half ago, people wanted him out of the sport, and he's worked hard with Seth Nash, and they've really worked on his racecraft. And he was fast. Like, he was fast.
Yeah, he's kind of been like a Billy Musgrave, and where he's been on the racetrack every week and just working hard at it. And as you said, he has a very different and rambunctious character. So he is kind of all over the place when he's outside the cart, and then you get him in the cart and you can see the hands and gesturing and all. He's just amped up and ready to go every time he gets in.
You're a father, Cole, when you just pull out the word rambunctious.
Rambunctious. Yeah. It's a great word.
It is. And every parent,
it's a big word.
It's a big word for you. To wrap up our Paddock Pass, one of the cool things that we had some fun with this past weekend was a new column that we had on eKarting News for the weekend called Carter X, the Unknown Pro. Essentially, we had a pro driver who was competing on the weekend, didn't tell anybody who the driver was so that he or she could just essentially write about what they wanted to write about, talk about, whatever. But the kind of concept was to have some anonymity. And I think a lot of people really enjoyed that. We're going to do more of it. We had a number of people say, hey, if I can guess who it is, will you tell me? We said yes. I wouldn't have told them anyways, but they were all wrong. Right, Dave? Nobody got it right.
Yeah, nobody came up to me with the right guess. I never said I would tell anybody. I was keeping a complete secret, but I still took, I still listened to anybody guess, and nobody came up with the proper one. Nobody even online guessed the correct driver. So it was a bit interesting. It's something that we definitely want to work on a little bit more, because again, it was the first article, and again, a lot of these drivers do not have the experience, or not necessarily drivers or industry members or mechanics. Not a lot of people have experience writing, so some might have some caution to do it, but I think it's something that we can play around a little bit with and kind of open the eyes of of viewers and people who go to these events and people who promote these events and kind of see what it is that certain people are seeing that they might not see.
It was cool. And to be honest, I edited it. It was pretty good. This weekend's Carter X did a great job. I'll be honest. All right, folks, that's going to cap off our paddock pass for this particular edition of the EKN Debrief. When we get back from this break, it's time to start talking about the racing. We're going to come back with the race report here on the EKN Radio Network. For over 60 years, the International Kart Federation has been at the core of the foundation of American karting. Founded in 1957, the IKF was karting's first organization and sanctioning body. Fast forward to 2019, and the IKF is back on the scene with new branding, new enthusiasm, and a new focus on the IME KA100 and Briggs 206 categories. These engine platforms represent the core of the sport: fast, fun, and affordable family motorsport. That's the IKF. This year's IKF Sprint Grand Nationals are set for the September 20 to 22 weekend at the beautiful Pat's Acres Racing Complex in Canby, Oregon. It's the first time in over 30 years that the IKF Sprint Grand Nationals will be hosted by Pat's Acres, and the battle for the legendary Duffy Trophy will be fierce. Say what you will about the sport, the Duffy is still one of the most coveted trophies, and we expect nothing less than amazing and competitive racing at the park. This year's IKF Sprint Grand Nationals will feature Briggs 206 Cadet, Junior, Senior, and Masters, KA100 Junior and Senior, Tag Light and Heavy, and both World Formula Masters and Kid Kart. For more information, follow the IKF on Facebook and Instagram, and bookmark ikfkarting.com. And to enter the event, head to motorsportsreg.com. Top quality material, all presented in fluorescent yellow. You've seen it, and now you need to choose the flow. Since 2005, J3 Competition has been capturing major victories and championships both on and off the track, redefining the industry with each move. The company took its unparalleled knowledge and rolled it into their own chassis line in 2015, the Comp Kart. The CIK FIA homologated brand has been winning races ever since. There are 3 Comp Kart models to choose from. The Covert 3.0 R19 is the latest design for tag and shifter competition. The Covert 4R serves several popular categories, including 100cc and Briggs 206 racing. The Ranger 28 model is designed for cadet racing and will be the official chassis of the Minimax division at the 2019 Rotax Challenge Grand Finals in Sarno, Italy. And lastly, new karters can get right into the Comp Kart product from the beginning, running the Micro Kart in the Kid Kart division. Visit j3competition.com for more on the fastest growing chassis line in the world. Do it now. Choose the flow.
You probably know Nitro Kart for making a class-leading cadet chassis, the kart that swept the 2018 SCUSA Supernats cadet divisions and has won scores of races and championships all over the country. But did you know that Nitro Kart offers a full range of karts, including a kid kart and a brand new full-size chassis? Now racers of all ages can enjoy the Nitro Kart advantage of premium components, superior performance, and a wide range of tunable handling. All 2019 Nitro Karts are in stock now, so call Nick Tucker at 704-818-7868 and order yours today.
Hi, I'm Ashley Harrow, a multi-time international champion, but most kids know me as Coach. Under the tent, we aren't just friends. Everyone grows to become family. It all breaks down to 2 simple choices. You can either spend your time winning with us, or spend your time trying to beat us.
Nitro Kart! Race one or chase one!
Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network, episode number 54 of the EKN Debrief. My name is Rob Howden, joined by David Cole, and we're talking about the SCUSA Summer Nationals, the final round of the 2019 Pro Tour. Jumping now into the race report presented today by Trinity Karting Group. The Trinity Karting Group is your first step on the ladder to racing success. Based at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, they literally have a track in their backyard and a controlled environment to develop your skills. Trinity Karting Group flattens out the steep learning curve with a professional staff that will put you on the right path. The focus is driver development, and they compete at the local, regional, and national levels. They have new and used packages available, and they are your Midwest source for Tony karts and OTK parts, as well as IAME engines. Visit them at teamtkg.com or call 513-421-4463. Again, Trinity Karting Group, the presenting sponsor of our race report here today. Dave, let's just jump right on into the pro shifter category. Really out of the box. Jake French said, I'm ready to go. We got this croc promotion rolling, puts it on the pole on Saturday morning, and really didn't let up that much all the way through to the end.
No, not so much, especially on Saturday where he just dominated the round of racing, set fast lap, set track record, I guess is what you can say, because we've never been on this racetrack.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Set the track record in qualifying with a 1:11.438 lap time, and literally led from green to checkered both in the final for his first victory since 2007 on the Pro Tour, or 2017 on the Pro Tour.
Pre-final win, victory, a croc 1-2, and maybe more importantly overall, pretty solid run for Kyle Wick in national number 2 for the CRG, getting that third spot on the podium, Dave.
Yeah, the third spot established himself as the championship leader heading into Sunday, jumping Bedozo. All three, though, were still right there because their results were very similar to each other, but Wick had the edge, so he had the most points going into to Sunday's weekend or Sunday's round of racing, and really stepped up right away with qualifying.
That's it. You come back on Sunday and there's all these permutations of what you can do, where everybody else finishes, and any driver will tell you, I'm just going to try to win the race, win every session, and let the championship fall where it is, because then it's not in my hands anymore. I've done everything I could. Wick comes out of the box. If I'm not mistaken, it was late in the run, wasn't it? Didn't he drop the hammer super late in the 7-minute session? Because
the 7-minute session and
that's
a
right.
1:11 lap time,
right.
You get basically 2 or 3 laps at the most, and the shifter guys sometimes take that first 2 laps as warm-ups and then lay down their laps. So Wick, I think Wick was one of the late ones to set a fast time, and then he and Musgrave really challenged for the win in the pre-final, with Musgrave coming away with a victory. Jake French was kind of sitting there third and fourth, again, Wick basically just finished ahead of his championship rivals, both Myers and Bedozo, in all 3 sessions of the day to really clinch that championship.
Yeah, because we'll talk more about qualifying and all the categories. That was one of the interesting things, because where the drivers left the grid, they roll out past turn 3. They do the entire almost a mile, probably a full mile at that point, all the way back around just to start the clock. Then they're all the way back around again, not, sometimes warming their tires up. We weren't even calling out fast lap times until 4.5 minutes into the 7-minute session, right? And
the clock starts when they leave.
I don't understand, but
so that's
part
of it.
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah, it's the clock starts when they leave, so you're a minute before they even come around.
So their first lap that is recorded is 3 minutes into the 7-minute session.
And that was one of the interesting things we saw with the shifter card categories, was the guys not putting many laps in once they realized it was 2 laps, right? I know Musser did 1 extra in the G1 class. And I want to say it might have been I think Musgrave did a couple extra. I think he went for almost a full session on Sunday in qualifying. Most of the guys like Wick and like French, just 2 laps, right? Get out, get the tires warmed up, boom, boom, 2-3 laps max, and park it. That's what we saw from me.
Yeah, and that's typically what they do no matter where we're at with the racetrack, whether it be a 45-second track or a minute 11-second track. The shifter guys typically like to save the tires and just try and pound a quick lap or 2 to get a fast time.
So as David says, Wick on the pole, Musgrave wins the pre-final. French starts 4th in the race and just kind of settles in, and then just starts methodically working his way forward, gets himself to the lead, and ends up with his second win of the weekend. Just a really dominant and impressive performance by Jake French. Musgrave finishes 2nd again, and we'll talk more about what he was able to do, which is pretty impressive. Wick ends up in 3rd, and by finishing ahead of his teammate AJ Myers, Wick ends up with the championship, national number 2 last year. He'll wear the national number 1 at the Super Nationals this November. Myers ends up in the second spot, and Andrew Badozo rounding out the top 3. Interesting, David, that Wick wins the championship and didn't win a race.
Yes, that was one of the stats I looked at right away was when we were talking about, I believe we talked about it on our video debrief Sunday night.
Yep.
And I don't think that's something that's happened in the pro shifter category, in the headline shifter division in the 10 years of the Pro Tour. So It's something I still haven't been able to look at, but when we do kind of a championship profile, we'll definitely dive into that a little bit more.
So on the racetrack at the same time as Pro Shifter 1 was the Pro Shifter 2 category, as we had said, talking about the numbers, 32 in total on track. At one point last year, SCUSA was looking to have just a Pro Shifter category. They weren't going to have the 1 and 2. A lot of the feedback coming from teams saying, hey, we really want to have that semi-pro class for some of our drivers. They want to run semi-pro and then move to pro, so they stuck with it. Bottom line is 32 drivers on track at the same time. I thought overall, a pretty solid weekend, David, in terms for Pro 2. Some drivers really stepped up and impressed us. Race Liberante, we knew out of the box on the Winter Nationals, we knew he had the speed to go to win the championship, and he's going to be probably a title contender when he goes Pro 1 racing next year. We had Calvin Ming come in as well, former driver from the Road to Indy, who's taken some time off the Road to Indy while he's in his studies. We saw a couple of young kids step up as well. But Calvin Ming, out of the box, right? Qualifies on pole, wins the pre-final. Pretty impressive for him.
Yeah, Race Liberante had a bit of an issue in qualifying, and then in the pre-final came up, I think after the lap 2 or 3, came up limp and off the racetrack with a mechanical issue.
Yep.
But Ming really shined in both qualifying and the pre-final, ran away from the field in the pre-final especially, and then when the main event started, had a pretty good sizable lead, but Race Liberante was on the charge.
Yeah, he was able to chase him down coming from deep in the field, essentially dead last in the category, because we did have the splits. They did a full split start. They actually gridded the Pro 1s and sent them while they were kind of still gridding the Pro 2s, because the track was so long, the gap was massive. Liberante able to work his way back through the order and was able to slide by on the final lap. I think Calvin was in a position to potentially get it back, but got balked by a slower kart. Not much you could do there. He ends up with a strong second place run and to worth saying, running with Musgrave Racing Company on a Croc promotion. So throw another Croc promotion kart on the podium. And then Dalton Egger having a pretty good run in the Cosmic, finishing in the third spot, Dave.
Yeah, his first Pro Tour race, and I want to say 2 years.
Yeah.
Dalton's been working with SCUSA as a track guy or mechanic when they have the rentals at Streets of Lancaster. He's just kind of been a guy of all traits when it comes to working with SCUSA. I believe video stuff as well too.
Yeah, just video,
with IMSA as well. So Dalton got back behind the wheel and pulled off a really solid third place performance.
So Sunday, a lot more of a Liberante kind of day. You know what we kind of saw at the start of the year. A Race Liberante. He's working with the guys from J3 competition. He's got support from Frank Baldozer and giving him the opportunity to do this. And Race really, Dave, dominated the day, able to go P1 in qualifying, wins the pre-final, gets a smoke and hole shot to be able to pull away in the main event to get the victory and of course the championship. For me, in the race on Sunday, man, it was the guy to watch was Connor Robles on the Aluminos, driver out of Temecula, California. Young guy, has only been racing for a couple of years, and man, he was staying with Liberante for half that race. That was impressive.
Yeah, we went in thinking Calvin was going to be a great challenger for race throughout the day, and it ended up being Connor who put on the heat, especially at the beginning of the main event, kept on his bumper for at least the first half of the race. So. But Liberante was able to pull away to a pretty sizable lead, but still a great a second podium finish on the year for Robles. And attrition kind of helped Baylor Griffin move up into third spot. We saw Hewitt drop out. We saw Joe Roque. We saw a number of other, Craig Alvarez, Egger. They all had some issues throughout the race. So that excuse me, allowed Baylor Griffin to move up to third in his CRG.
Off the top of my head, I can't remember. I think I talked to Ming afterwards. Did he say he had an issue? For some reason I can't remember off the top of my head if he had a technical, or do you remember off the top of your head, Dave? Or am I asking?
Well, he didn't.
Am I asking too much?
He finished. He just fell behind. He actually fell to fifth. Just didn't quite have the pace that he had on Sunday. His fast lap was a 13.5, where Race Liberante was a 12.9. So his pace just on Sunday was just not the same as it was on Saturday.
So Race Liberante does come away with the championship. He won't use that national number one. I think he'll be moving to the Pro 1 category. Max Hewitt ends up second overall. Max really wasn't a factor in terms of running for the race win on the weekend. He was right there in the top 3, top 5, but not able to come away with a podium on the weekend. And Calvin Ming capped off his program third overall. Pretty good run from start to finish on the Pro Tour for Calvin Ming. So that's Pro 1 and Pro 2 in the shifter cart categories. David, the 51 or 52 drivers in X30 Senior. You could just scroll down the results and look at guys that have won, national races, regional races, champions. Like, it was just a who's who X30 Senior, just packed. It was amazing.
It was 51 when we came in on Sunday, because we had Christian Brooks actually make the trip over from Mid-Ohio to race on Sunday's events, because he was racing the F4 car over there at Mid-Ohio on the weekend. Yep. Their program ended Saturday. He was about ready to head on a flight back home to California, but decided to make the couple-hour trip over to Newcastle and to compete in his fifth round, which could have helped him in the championship, but didn't quite probably have the performance he wanted to, having only driven the track that day.
Coming into the weekend with Christian not being there, did you have any doubt that Ryan Norberg was going to be able to step up and win this championship?
Well, with the amount of drivers that were in the field, there was always the opportunity. Yeah. And Brandon Jarzakrak came into the points second.
P2.
And his record at Newcastle was phenomenal. And so you knew he was going to be at the front of the field all weekend long. And again, it just, it boils down to being able to stay out of trouble and be quick. And Ryan Norberg did that throughout the weekend, especially on Saturday, as he was able to score both the pre-final and final victory. Yeah,
Trey Brown qualifying on the pole position for Nash Motorsports. Norberg steps to the forefront in the pre-final to win. He ends up taking the win in the main event as well, which essentially clinched the championship for him. Third straight victory, having swept the weekend in Utah. Billy Musgrave, David, coming home in the second spot. Samuel Lupien, his first race of the year, national number 2 last year. First Pro Tour race of the year for Lupien, coming back with Rawlison Performance Group. Norberg did get shuffled back to fifth early. Musgrave led for a lot of that race, but Norberg worked his way back to P1. But let's talk a little bit about the performance of Billy Musgrave. Just doing double duty is one thing. Running both Pro 1 and the X30 Senior class, 2 top level categories. It's a lot to ask out of a driver. But then he ends up with a couple of second place finishes. We talked about guys doing things that we've never seen before. I think it's the first time we've ever had anybody on the podium in the single day on the Pro Tour in both pro categories.
Yeah, Billy's been the guy that's been doing the double duty. We've seen some others do it. AJ Myers, I believe, did it with TB Cart when he was winning S1, but just wasn't quite there to win. Might have been on the podium in X30 Senior class, but I don't recall it. So right now, as it stands, we're going to go with Musgrave being the first to do it, to be able to podium both in the Pro Shifter and X30 Senior in the same day. We talked to him after the race, and they just threw everything they could at the X30 cart, and it ended up working. And as you said, led a good portion of the main event, but just Norberg was a little bit stronger in the long run and was able to pull away.
Let's talk about Sunday now, because I like the way things played around. We're pretty sure that Norberg, you were telling me Norberg really had it already locked in to a certain extent. Brandon Jarzakrak ends up putting the Mike Doty Racing Machine on the pole position. Norberg comes back in the pre-final. But I'll let you give your take first and foremost on that race, because the race was great, battling back and forth, number of different leaders. But that last lap was ridiculous. It was crazy.
It was a bit crazy. Not as crazy as we saw in other categories, but just a kind of shock to see it happen in X30 Senior, especially with Norberg, because Alex Bertignolli of Kart Sport North America was right up there on his Kart Republic, led for a number of laps, and it looked like it was just going to be between him and Norberg. Norberg got around him coming to the white flag, and then Norberg went defensive mode, which is something we not really had ever seen him do. And
full defense mode.
So that allowed Jarzakrak to close in. And then when Jarzakrak started mixing it in with those two, the group behind him, them started coming in. And I believe it was like a 3-second pace slower that last lap for those front three drivers than they had run all race long. So all of a sudden they come around I-70 corner, and there's 7 to 8 carts that are going 3 wide as they came to the checkered flag.
Can you imagine being back there like 5th or 6th and seeing that all happen? You know, you figured you're going to hold your spot. Of course it's what you want, but
it's what you've been
seeing
dreaming
it actually
for.
But it wasn't like it was an incident. It was just the defensive line. Bertignolli couldn't get by. Norberg's running the inside line, and you can stack people up at this track, right? Especially going into 14, the scoreboard corner. Everybody just stacks up on the inside. You're trying not to hammer the guy in front of you. You're trying not to activate your pushback bumper. And same thing goes when you get up to the top of the hill at I-70. It was crazy. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it was a bit crazy, and just the way it unfolded with Jarzakrak being able to go from 3rd on that lap to 1st and cross the line just ahead of Norberg and Greenemeyer was pretty exciting, and added his 3rd. This is his 3rd straight victory at the Summer Nationals. So he's won at least once in the last 3 years at Newcastle for the Summer Nats.
That's awesome. Hannah Greenemeyer came across the line in 3rd spot. She had made contact earlier in the race with Billy Musgrave and ended up getting a penalty on that, dropped her down. That moves Samuel Lupien back up to the podium again. So a couple of 3rd place finishes for Samuel Lupien. One of the other drivers we were watching, Dave, of course, we're watching the championship battle up front, but we were watching Brandon Lemke come from the tail of the field. Dead last, I believe, up to 9th. 42 spot gain for Brandon Lemke. That was absolutely stellar.
Yeah, he's had some practice at that in the last few months with his stock car schedule disrupting his Friday practice and getting to events late. He came into to Newcastle 2 weeks ago for the USBKS race, landed Saturday morning, so missed qualifying and had to start in the back of that 30 kart field. And so he got some great experience coming from the back that weekend. And I really do think this helped him. And being a longer track and 16 laps, he was able to get more spots with more karts in front of him, right?
Yeah, another driver coming up impressively. I didn't get a chance to talk about too much, only because I think we were focused on Lemke. That was Jake Drew. Jake started at the tail of the field as well, in 50th spot, ended up coming up to 18th. Good run for Jake Drew as well. In the end, though, it's a 4th straight championship, 4 consecutive championships for Ryan Norberg. This one, of course, coming with Rollison Performance Group. Unprecedented performance. You know, you get to win the first one. I think going back-to-back was crazy. Then you win the third, and we're all blown away that you won 3 in a row, and now he's won 4 straight championships. It's just, David, considering this particular level of competition, that's, to me, just, that's unheard of. It's amazing.
It's very unheard of, something we haven't seen on the world calendar. I don't think we've had a world champion 4 times in a row. But, you know, not even here in the United States, we've seen a driver win 4 Grand Nationals or championships in a row. So it's unprecedented and impressive at the same time. And again, there's opportunity for more because we know Norberg's hungry. He wants to win and wants to keep competing.
Brandon Jarzakrak ends up P2, second in the championship. Trey Brown in 3rd. All right, Dave, let's go into the G1, G2 category again. Essentially the gold one, gladiator one, whatever we're going to call it. I think Scusa uses gladiator. It's the Master 175 and the Supermaster 175, G1 and G2. We can go through this one pretty quickly because there was 4 drivers in G1 and I believe 5 drivers in the G2 category. Jordan really was a rekindling of the Jordan Musser versus Ryan Kinnear battle we've seen over the last number of years in S4, as Ryan coming back to run with Phil Giebler Racing on a Ricardo. Didn't seem to really miss a beat, the two of those drivers going at it, as we've seen throughout the last many years.
No, and it was only Ryan's second race of the year, his first in the IME 175. So very impressive to see him just jump right back in and be right there with Musser, who's really been racing all season long, beginning back to the Winter Series. So to be able to keep pace with Musser was really impressive.
To give you just a little bit of a context from what we're going to be talking about here with the G1s, one of the big passing opportunities, of course, with a shifter is coming down the long straightaway, pass, start, finishing to turn one, get deep on the brakes, go on the inside. And the key is being able to get to the inside and not having the driver either stay on the outside or make the over-under and beat you over to turn number 2. Well, that got pretty interesting because Musser qualifies on pole, wins the pre-foul, ends up winning the main event to keep his streak alive. He swept the Winter Series. He won the first 5 races on the Pro Tour, was not beaten until Sunday. So he was a couple times in and out. He and Kinnear, Musser would come through the corner and immediately come back to the left, essentially to get that defensive move to the inside of 2 and hold the spot. That's okay, unless somebody's there. On Saturday, Musser with the win, Kinnear second, Crow in third. Musser locks up his 4th SCUSA Pro Tour champion, so both he and Norberg 4-time champions, although not in a row for Musser. Sunday, things a little bit different, David. It seemed like Kinnear maybe getting a little more comfortable. He qualifies pole, wins the pre-final. That defensive stuff happening over, though, in turn number 1 got a little more interesting, did it not?
Well, it got more interesting because Musser actually fell back to third at the start as John Crow was able to get off the line a little bit quicker, dropping Musser back down to third. And with Kinnear out front, and Musser was kind of in a little bit of a panic mode, you might say, to try and get that 6th straight victory. So he was really forcing and trying to get around Crow. That one of those moves happened in turn 1, and Crow was right there, and Musser still moved over, and basically Crow had to back out of it before running over or going into the grass, or getting run over by Musser or going in the grass. So it was a interesting move, but Musser was then able to run down Kinnear, and then the two basically kind of did the same, except this time with a lot more contact and a lot more tire smoke and side pods getting smashed in. And Kinnear was still able to hold off Musser and cross the line first, but then the officials got in on it.
So Kinnear got a penalty for the contact with Musser, and Musser gets a penalty for the contact with Crow. They both drop down. That moves John Crow to P1. So John Crow ends up with the win. Another victory for Croc Promotion. Kinnear ends up second. Musser in third. A climactic end to the G2 championship on the year, I think, David.
I think what it's going to do is it's going to give us a great incentive going into Supernats because, both guys are going to be there and that's still a race that Musser has not been able to win. And so Kinnear, I believe Kinnear won. I can't think off the top of my head, but
get that spreadsheet out, boy.
Yeah, I'm going to have to now. But yeah, and then you add in all the other guys that are going to probably be coming back in, like a Rob Logan who won last year, and all these other top Masters drivers internationally as well too. So could get a pretty interesting come Vegas.
In the points, as we said, Musser ends up winning that championship. 5 wins of the 6 races. John Crow slots in second. Justin Peck from Rawlson Performance Group finishing in third. He'll run that national number 3 plate for G1 in 2020. In the
Kinnear won in 17.
There you go. David Cole, drop it. Wow, you came in hot.
So again, something Musser hasn't done yet. Oh. So that's going to be something we'll be talking about until we get to November.
So the G2 category, making its essentially debut on the Pro Tour. These drivers started the season off in the S4 class. They all elected to get the 175. So it's kind of a G2 S4 point deal. Essentially, Brett Harrelson, Ken Schilling, Gunnar Vanderster, first, second, and third on Saturday. Harrelson comes back again, unbelievably quick. He finishes with 2 race wins. Gunnar Vanderster comes home in second, and Miguel Garcia rounding out the 3 drivers on the podium on Sunday. What about X30 Masters, David? What a pretty solid performance overall by Matt Johnson. A number of drivers stepped up to battle. Carlos Calderon was quick out of the gate, but couldn't keep it up during the race weekend. It was more than it was Renato Jader who was really in the fight.
It was, and we thought it was going to be a bit more of a championship battle too, but we had Derek Wang not show up
Yep.
because of a rib injury, and Jess Peterson not compete as well too. So they were second and third in the points. So essentially gave Matt Johnson kind of an open door to just kind of focus on getting race wins. And that's what he did. But he had Super Nationals winner Renato Jarder David battling with him throughout the day and throughout the weekend as well.
Jonathan Silva came out of the box pretty strongly as well. As you said, both Johnson and Renato Jarder David. I think it's just Renato David. I talked to Fabio and he said, I think it's just Renato David. That'll make it easier for us. Johnson, though, with the win, David, on Saturday. David's second, Jonathan Silva coming up to third. Overall, I just thought that Johnson came in with a lot of momentum. And I just think that he's had a lot of seat time this year. And it's paying off, I think.
Well, he's had a lot of seat time. He's helping Brett Harrelson, driver coach. So yeah, he's been in the seat a lot, and he wants to get these accomplishments in his bag. He's done a lot in IKF racing. He's done stuff in Pro Kart Challenge as well too. But it's the Pro Tour that he doesn't have any accolades for. And when he came into the Masters category, he thought he was going to be able to come in guns ablaze and be able to grab him real quick. But he found out he's got to put the work in, and that's what he's done, especially this season, getting now 4 straight race victories in a row.
Yeah,
and definitely is going to be among the favorites, and was as he was last year going into the Super Nationals.
So Matt Johnson will have the national number 1 plate. He wins the championship, qualifies on pole on Sunday. David stepped up in the pre-final to score that win. Johnson came back again as the top 2 pull away. Matt Johnson with the win. David in second for Ochelon Racing. Johnson, of course, with Nash Motorsports. Vache Tatikian with Phil Giebler Racing had his best run of the weekend. He jumps up into this 3rd spot. And with that, of course, knowing that Derek Wang not being there, Jess Peterson not being there, overall in the championship, Johnson P1 with the national number 1 plate, Tatikian National 2, and Derek Wang National 3. David, we would be remiss if we did not talk a little bit about Billy Lewis, local driver who showed good speed but got caught up in a couple incidents early. Started 14th at the tail of the field on Sunday in the last main event, and really raced his way impressively up to the 5th spot. He was just absolutely flying, great passes, decisive overtakes as soon as he got to the driver in front of him. I thought Billy did an awesome job on Sunday.
Yeah, he did a great job. I kind of just got in the wrong place at the wrong time throughout the weekend. Same thing happened in Saturday's final, I believe, as well. So, but it was great to end the weekend strong with a good 5th place performance coming from the back. And then in the championship, Wang ended up finishing 3rd, as you said, I believe. 7 points back was Jonathan Silva. So he had that great podium finish on Saturday, again, ran into trouble on Saturday, wasn't able to produce the points he needed. Otherwise, he'd be carrying the number 3 plate.
X30 Supermaster running with the Masters categories, 5 drivers on Saturday. John Bonanno, really the class of the field, qualified on pole, won the pre-final, but an issue he got DQ'd actually for an exhaust piece. I saw a picture of it, but he essentially dominated the day, John Bonanno did. DQ'd for an issue on the exhaust, the flex on the exhaust. Gives Kim Carapelletti the race win. Scott Carapelletti in second and moves John Persing up into 3rd. Carapelletti's and Bonanno then move to the master category on Sunday. That leaves just Persing and Martin to run, Steve Martin to run in Supermaster on Sunday rather. Steve Martin qualifies on the pole. Persing wins the pre-final. Persing actually, I think, was a last lap pass, David. Am I not mistaken, to get by Martin for the race win?
Yeah, they kind of hung around each other throughout the main event. Persing had already wrapped up the championship on Sunday or Saturday with his 3rd place. So I think they were just kind of, putting in the time and having a good little dice back and forth. And Persing was in the right spot at the right time to grab that, I believe, his 2nd victory on the season.
So in the points for the Supermasters category ends up being Persing, Martin, and DJ Ortiz in the 3rd spot.
And a good run for Bonanno moving up to Masters on Sunday, because he was the 4th place finisher. He was the guy Billy Lewis was chasing there at the end.
Agreed, and he was out of the box strong. It was very impressive. We got 5 more categories still to come after this break. We'll do X30 Junior, KA100 Junior and Senior, and both Mini and Micro Swift. Stay with us. We're going to wrap up the race report from the SCUSA Summer Nationals after this break.
If you want to drive the best, drive a CRG. Our countless race wins and championships prove this fact, including taking the KZ Finals at the SCUSA Super Nationals and the CIK World Championships in both 2016 and 2017. Our material is second to none. After years of independent American importers, CRG is now managed directly by the factory and run out of our state-of-the-art headquarters in Texas. CRG Nordam is the American arm of the CRG factory in Italy, and we're serious about success. We stock a wide variety of parts in all of our chassis, from the CRG Hero for the mini categories, to the Heron for tag race, the Road Rebel for gearbox competition, and the new FS4, which has been designed specifically for American 4-cycle Briggs racing. If you're ready to step up to the national level, do it with a factory race team that competes across the USA. CRG Nordam is a full factory effort with the best personnel and the finest equipment. We're serious about winning, and you should be too.
The Kart Republic has arrived in the USA, and it's been taking the world by storm. Kart Sport North America is the country's importer and distributor for Dino Chiesa's Kart Republic chassis, and as a leader in American karting, they are focused on providing stability for the sport and quality products and service for the community. Kart Republic racked up an unprecedented amount of championships in its first season in 2018, ranging from the SCUSA Winter Series in X30 Senior, the United States Pro Kart Series in Mini Swift and X30 Pro, the FIA European Championship, and the FIA World Championship in OK Senior. Whether you'd like to find out the Kart Republic dealer closest to you or schedule an arrive and drive package with its official North American race team, contact Kart Sport North America through their official website, kartsportna.com.
You've heard the term bucket list. In karting, it refers to the Rock Island Grand Prix. The world's largest street race for karting will host its 25th edition this coming Labor Day weekend, and you owe it to yourself to be there. The Rock Island Grand Prix lands on the weekend of August 30 and September 1, and everyone in the Mississippi River City is ready to welcome grassroots racers as well as some of the best shifter kart drivers from North America to their home race. A total of 17 race groups are set to tackle the city streets of Rock Island, Illinois over 2 full days of exciting competition. The volunteer-based committee and their passionate crew turns their streets into a racing festival overnight as drivers compete for the coveted Rock Trophy. Categories range from the popular Briggs 206, Margay Ignite, and Yamaha classes to tag, KA100, shifter divisions, and the famed King of the Streets main event. It's the most fun you can have on and off the track. It's the Rock Island Grand Prix. Learn more by visiting rockislandgrandprix.com. And if you're a passionate kart racer, it's time to cross this one off your bucket list. Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network. My name is Rob Howden, joined by David Cole, podcast that we recorded here on August the 14th, episode 54 of the EKN Debrief, talking about the SCUSA Summer Nationals, the final round of the SCUSA Pro Tour. This race report brought to you by Trinity Karting Group. David, let's jump into the X30 Junior class, a big field of drivers, talented field of drivers, and it was cool to see a driver score their first win on the Pro Tour on Saturday.
It was a bit chaotic.
Yeah.
Again, as we saw in other events at Newcastle with the X30 Junior category, both the pre-final and final were a bit chaotic with guys making some contact, shuffling up the order. Brandon Tyner began the weekend with fast driver in qualifying. He had some contact in the pre-final. This allowed Luke Lang to come up and score the pre-final win. Some more contact, shuffle things up in the final, including Josh Pearson. This kind of shuffled up the field a little bit. We ended up having Luke Lang and championship leader Freddie Slater out front. Slater was really defensive. This is where we saw the defensive line really pack up the field, because I think we had the top 12 or 15 all bunched in together as they came to the checkered flag. But Bryson Morris took advantage of the bit of chaos and was able to edge out Luke Lang there for the victory and score his first Pro Tour victory.
Yeah, took advantage of it, right, Dave? You go on the defensive, you stack everybody up, you let somebody else come into the play instead of being able to just run away and try to do it amongst themselves. As you said, Bryson Morris ends up with the victory. Luke Lang in second, and Freddie Slater rounding out the top three. Coming into Sunday, the drivers working their way back to the front again that we expected. Josh Pearson qualifying on the pole, put a really good lap down. Brandon Tyner working his way to the front in the pre-final. He really was one of the top guys all weekend long. Talk a bit about Sunday's race first. Let's roll before we go into Sunday's race. David, Freddie Slater electing not to run, sat out Sunday, having won the championship on Saturday.
Yeah, it's something we've seen happen before, and something that, again, you have to kind of look at when there's a drop race factoring in, and possible technical or sportsmanship DQs not being able to be dropped. It's something we've seen happen at a number of events, and so the safer route is not to race, and that's the way that Freddie Slater went. So he was watching from the sidelines all Sunday.
So let's talk about the main event then. What are your thoughts on how things kind of happened over the last couple of laps? Again, it's one of those races in these 16 lap races. The guys are getting out. They're racing hard for the first 4, 5, 6 laps, find out where they are, and then they try to stretch away. And people are trying to, the lead packs are trying to pull away, whatever it may be. But again, a couple of last, wild laps to cap things off.
Yeah, 4 drivers kind of essentially set themselves up as a lead group, including John Burke, Brent Cruz, Brandon Tyner, and Jonathan or Edward Ports. Which one is it?
Jonathan Ports.
Jonathan Ports. Yes, sorry.
I think.
So they kind of set themselves up as the top drivers in the final, and they were able to. It's Jonathan, by the way. They were able to pull away a good advantage over the rest of the field, but again, defensive line came into play again in the last couple of laps. John Burke was able to put himself at the front. And he was actually able to perform it, I guess, as you plan, maybe. I don't know, because he held everybody off and was able to get to the checkered flag. But Brent Cruz had an amazing pass that we were able to see through Twitter on that last lap, came from 4th and was able to sneak inside both Ports and Tyner to grab second. And that kind of essentially gave Burke the quick run to the checkered flag.
That's what we were trying. Like, he was making that run, and I was sure, I would have said for sure that they were all going to come around that corner, and it was going to be a big drag race, right? But Cruz made that just great move to the inside, and once he got into the apex, everybody else kind of had to check up, and that just gave Burke enough room to be able to stretch away. I think the margin just under 0.3 of a second across the line for Burke. Cruz ends up in the second spot. Brandon Tyner in third. Fast lap did go to Jonathan Ports. It's probably the best we've seen him run. At least I've seen him run this year. He's pretty impressive to be able to work his way as he did up front.
Yes, at the Pro Tour, he's had a bit of ups and downs on the year, but this was his overall best finish on the season.
So as you said, David, Freddie Slater sitting out, so he wins the championship. No issues whatsoever on Sunday, not having to get on the racetrack. Brandon Tyner in second and Josh Pearson in third. Couple of good finishes for those two Rawlson Performance Group drivers. Slater running with Super Tune USA. Good run for him to win that championship as well. Let's move into KA100 Junior, Dave. Awesome field. Very quickly, I think each day kind of settled in, though, to 3 drivers up front.
It did, and it was basically the same show, just different leaders every time they almost came around. After Chloe Chambers set fast time in qualifying, we had basically it was Logan Adams, Kiffin Simpson, and Connor Zillage that were up front. These 3 kind of locked up, especially in the main event, got away from everybody and settled it on their own, coming to the checkered flag on Saturday, and ended up being Simpson who grabbed the victory, edging out Zillage and Adams at the line for the victory.
It really was kind of one of those those textbook stereotypical, let's race hard. They kind of battled back and forth a little bit, but not much. And then pulled away and made it a 3-driver battle both days, right? And like you said, last couple laps get exciting. People start trying to figure out where they want to place themselves. But as you said, Simpson ended up getting that win. Connor Zillage in second, and Adams coming home third.
He had a great, basically not a defensive move, but basically parked it in I-70 so they couldn't do the over-under.
That's it.
And kind of timed it just perfectly to kind of balk their momentum. and was able to get to the line first. So it was a good move, and it set things up pretty interesting for the championship because Ethan Ho, the point leader coming in, finished 9th, and that allowed both Simpson and Zillage to surpass his total and basically come into Sunday as the top 2 drivers in the championship chase, and they couldn't leave each other throughout the day on Sunday.
Let's talk a bit about the Sunday. It was kind of one of those deals where if you're going to win the race, you're probably going to win the championship. And Zillage really was the guy to kind of dominate the entire day in terms of where he finished at the checker.
He did. He was able to sweep the round, being in the lead position at the end of every session, and especially in the main event. That's where it was the winner take all type mentality. After Zillage did win the pre-final and scored that 10 bonus points and for qualifying first. Simpson tried his best. He gave a valiant effort, but got shuffled back late with coming to the white flag. That basically allowed Zillage to cruise to the victory, as Simpson had to fight with Adams and came up short, with Adams coming across the line in second. So both Kiffin, Simpson, and Zillage both earning their first victories on the weekend, but Zillage was able to come home as the series champion, inaugural champion.
And Simpson had the fast lap of the race bonus points as well. That's what made it so exciting at the end there, right?
Let me confirm that.
I got it right in front of me. 121.703.
See, You got it. You're good. Yeah.
I remember calling that, like, because we did a lot of that.
He needed to win still.
Yeah.
He still needed to win.
Exactly.
The win would have he needed the win and the bonus points to score the championship, because he lost that 10 bonus points there. To Zillage in qualifying, plus another 10, finishing second to him in the pre-final. So yeah, it was a bit interesting.
And you were using the spreadsheet, Dave. That was fun. We had you working that spreadsheet pretty aggressively throughout those races.
I think we used it more so in the KA 100 senior race than anything.
Let's go to that right now, because that was interesting. Connor Zillage with the championship, the inaugural champion in SCUSA Pro Tour in the KA 100 junior class. Simpson ends up finishing in second and Ho in third. Indeed, David, the KA 100 class, the Sunday deal. I almost want to just jump to Sunday, but we can't quite do that yet. Let's throw another local.
Because Saturday sets everything up for Sunday, Rob.
And let's throw another local Adams in there, of course, right? So it was Logan and junior. It's Garrett and senior. Garrett qualifies on pole, wins the pre-final. And then we got this battle between Austin Osborne, Nick Ramirez, and Adams. But, the bottom line was for Osborne, he had work to do all Saturday because he didn't qualify as well as he would have wanted to, that's for sure.
Yeah, qualified 12th, and as he said at the podium ceremonies, he didn't have the fastest kart.
Nope.
So basically fought his way forward throughout the day and ended up getting into the lead group there at the end, just had the right race pace to be able to join Ramirez and Adams. And it looked like Adams had the victory in hand, but Osborne was able to edge both him and Ramirez for the victory. And that kind of turned the tables in the championship chase, as it put the top 4, including Osborne, Ramirez, Persing, and former championship leader Blake Hunt, all within 79 points of each other.
Yeah, Blake was not having the best weekend he would have wanted to have. Had some issues with his sprocket carrier at one point.
In the pre-final, correct, yeah.
In the pre-final, yeah. So let's move to Sunday then, because you kind of set the stage. 4 drivers, all with a mathematical chance. Of course, you've got the bonus points for fast lap. It's absolutely wide open coming in on Sunday. All those bonus points, and then who qualifies from the pole? Qualifies P1. Matthew Mockabee.
I was just going to say a lot of it had to do with the one-off drivers, the guys who were just there racing for victories. And as you said, Mockabee set fast time in qualifying, so he stole the 10 points from everybody gunning for that 10 bonus points. And then you throw in Paulie Massimino, who goes out and wins the pre-final, so he gets maximum points in that race. So it kind of shuffles things up still for the main event as we go in. You're thinking, okay, some of these one-offs are just going to run away. Well, Massimino fell off a little bit. It was actually Adams who jumped back up or it was Mockabee who fell off a little bit. It was Adams and Massimino who kind of jumped out to the front. And then Nick Ramirez came to life here in the main event and joined them at the front of the field. And I was just going to set the stage.
Yeah.
So
do it. I'll let you have it.
Essentially, Osborne, we'll start with Osborne. He came into the main event leading the championship, needed a top 8 finish to secure the championship. By the time I get out there to start taking photos, I see him falling off pace. So I notice that he has another flat right rear. Same type.
You're texting me,
same type, because I don't know if I can't hear you announcing it or not. So I don't know if you noticed it because you couldn't see anything according to everybody.
Apparently.
And so all of a sudden we see Osborne falling off pace, and he eventually has to get off the racetrack because he can't hang on anymore, and they black flag him because he's off the pace. So he goes from pretty much securing the championship to losing what we assume to be losing the championship. And so I get done taking my photos. I come up there and I start blasting the numbers around with where everybody is. Well, Ramirez is running third. Okay, he can't do it. The only way Ramirez can win the championship is if he wins the race. You look at Persing. He needs to finish fourth, and he's in the second race group. So he's kind of fighting to get up towards the fourth position where Blake Hunt is sitting, but he needs to get up there and try and win the race or finish possibly, I believe it was third even. Might have gave him the championship with fast lap of the race. Well, Ramirez steals that.
I know.
So we look at his numbers, and he needs to win the race. Ramirez is racing in the front of the field. We're watching Persing because I don't know how you want to describe that this last lap part. If you want to take over the last lap.
So David, should we just go to the last lap here now? What are we gonna do?
Yeah,
that's not good.
You go over the last lap.
Okay, final lap of this race. This is where it gets interesting. We're calling things back and forth. David's giving me the where everybody is. Ramirez gets himself into the lead. Somehow Ramirez ends up getting into the lead where he is going to win this championship. But as happens so many times at Newcastle Motorsports Park, out of the I-70 hairpin, everybody's stacking it up. He's going a bit on the defensive side. And somehow both Adams and Massimino get by. It's the drag race to the line. Ramirez ends up finishing third.
They sandwiched him.
That's it.
Adams went outside.
Either way,
and then Massimino went to the inside. Ramirez went for Massimino instead of Adams. So Adams cleared the outside and got to the line first.
And the inside line is so tight because you got the grass there, but you've also got the barriers for Aaron Likens, for the flag guys. So there's only so much room to the left of the racetrack. Like you said, they go around the outside of him. Ramirez ends up finishing third. Adams gets the win. Persing finishes fourth. He's the champion. There's Austin Osborne, who all he had to do was finish eighth. He's done. He's already in the paddock. He's finished. And Persing wins the championship. Or so we think. Right? It's just
so we think. We thought for that brief second that Ramirez had it. And that was the most wild part of it. Because
exactly.
We're like, because the whole time leading up until the last lap, we're like, Persing's gonna win this. He's gotten into fourth. And then he kind of got away from that group. So he had the position secured. We're like, it's all his. And then we look to I-70 and we see Ramirez, and I'm like, Ramirez is leading.
So, okay. Again, so it's a crazy race. Nick Persing wins the championship so we think. Out of the scales with his National Motorsports team, pumped. Nick wins in K100 Senior. His dad has won the X30 Supermaster category. And then we find out later on that there's a penalty coming down for 2 wheels outside the lines on the start to Nick Persing.
Yeah, and again, it's not, they don't hand out the penalty paper like on the line. They issue it on the app. So it's kind of, again, that's the one thing I wish they would get away with. They would not let anybody go through the scale line without getting that penalty and without being notified that they received a penalty. So it takes away from that type of, we sat there in the Supernats, I think, for 5 minutes waiting for penalties to be decided so we could do the podiums. And and so again, this weekend, because you have 9 race groups, it's just like bam, 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 ready racing. So we got to do all that. So that's kind of the frustrating part, because he comes across, he thinks he has a victory, he celebrates with his team, celebrates with his family, and then however he got notified that he got a penalty, he got the penalty.
There it is. And it ends up with the penalty, drops him down the order. Where does he end up finishing, David? He
finishes ninth, drops him back behind Blake Hunt, who dropped back to ninth. But with the penalty to Persing, it moves him to ninth and then moves up Hunt to eighth, which is still not good enough to finish top three in the championship.
Osborne ends up winning the championship national number one plate. Nick Ramirez in second. Nick Piercing in third spot. Actually, I spoke with Blake today. He's kind of happy that he didn't. He would rather won it or got fourth. I don't think he wanted two, and I don't think he wanted three. He came in looking for the championship, and he's fine with fourth. So, in the end, Austin Osborne gets that championship.
And Circle of Champions, too. He gets to race all next year now because he said his dad supported him all season long. He's going to school right now, so I think now he has the incentive to come back and race again next year with the number one plate. It was
wild for sure, and it was just championship Sunday. The
emotional,
everything that was happening throughout that race, and then it's afterwards. We weren't even done after the checkered flag. It was nuts. All right, Dave, let's jump into the Mini Swift category here. An awesome field of drivers in the Mini Swift class. Out of the box, Jesus Vasquez Jr. Last lap run in qualifying. He takes the pole on Saturday. Young Caleb Gaffera stepping up for PSL karting on the Burrell Art. He wins the pre-final. But the main event, man, it was pretty impressive racing out front. Christian Miles comes home with a race win there. Talk about that race a little bit.
Yeah, Miles actually had a rough qualifying session. So he came from 27th to 2nd in the pre-final alone. So that kind of helped his championship hopes as he was looking to battle for the championship coming into the weekend. So that P2 helped gain him points over Kai Sorensen, who came into the weekend leading the championship.
Crucial.
Well, it ended up being Miles, Sorensen, Graffar, and Leonard all racing up front. And it ended up coming once again to a photo finish. Sorensen came out of I-70 leading and decided to drift a little bit to the left to try and block Miles from gaining momentum. And I'm not sure if contact was made, but
I think so. There was contact.
There could have been. And as you said, with those barriers there protecting Aaron Likens, it kind of helped. It kind of forced Miles to get out of it before he hit the walls and the barriers. But Sorensen came across the line as the provisional winner. Officials looked at everything and handed him a 10-second penalty for impeding and reckless conduct.
Yeah, it's a double one, right? It wasn't just impeding; it was the reckless conduct as well. And you said where I said that it was such a big win for Miles because, as you said, David, trouble in qualifying. He's mid-pack, 27th, having to work his way up to second, as you said, in the pre-final. And again, it was a stereotypical battle to the end, coming out of that final corner. Maybe one of the reasons why you'd rather like to see the start-finish line past turn one, where it used to be right kind of in the middle there, so that you had that full drag race, and then you potentially get the over-under. But as they came out of the corner, Miles made the move to the inside, and indeed, for us from where we are, at least my vantage point for sure, yours as well, I'm looking from where I am in the Champions Lounge, we're looking straight up. So any movement guys are making, we're seeing it. And it was just that drift across for Sorensen, kind of just moving Miles over. And it's, I'm talking to a bunch of guys in the paddock later, some of the veteran drivers in the pro categories. It's like you can make a move like that if you're going to defend, and then of course then you can't come back. But it's not the run to turn one. You're not defending to turn one and holding a line. It's an immediate block. Anytime you're moving, coming to the checker, it's a block. You're not setting up to defend a corner. It's the block to the line. I don't know if that's exactly what Joe Janowski and the crew looked at as officials, but with all the video they have, David, they could see the move for sure.
Well, and that's why I said we need to go back to where the line was, because it's a matter of outbreaking someone. If you want to hold the outside or the inside line and think you're going to outbreak me, or even like what Simpson did in I-70 and just park it so that way it eliminated the over-under type scenario. It gives us something different than just drag racing and blocking. Yep. I would much rather see guys go for it in the last corner with only however many feet, 50 feet left to the checkered flag, rather than the chess game is still kind of fun and interesting, but to me, it I don't know. It lends for more predictable finishes is what I guess I could say.
Well, what it did eventually, or essentially, is blows things wide open for Sunday. Coming into Sunday's races, only 4 points separating Sorensen and Miles for the championship battle. Out of the box, Miles getting things underway with qualifying on the pole position. Sorensen, though, comes back in the pre-final a little bit. You could talk more about the racing, but both those drivers needing to get points are grabbing them when they could. Miles gets the 10-point bonus for qualifying. Sorensen comes right back and gets top points in the pre-final. It made it interesting, going into the main.
But the pre-final was where Miles lost points because he had the opportunity to. I guess he was trying to make a pass on Sorensen for the lead on I-70 and ran the outside line, is what I believe.
Yeah, it looks from what we could see from where we were, right?
Right,
a long way away,
and basically went off track and fell all the way back to 6th. So a possible 2nd to 6th cost him valuable points and really made it to where he had to win in order to surpass Sorensen. I think Sorensen really, if he finished 2nd even, was good enough to earn the championship. So Miles needed to win, get fast lap bonus points, and needed some help with Sorensen. And the main event ended up being the top 4 in the championship standings, all right there in the lead group, including Leonard and Parker DeLong. So they were battling with Miles and Sorensen, and it seemed like Miles was kind of like the 4th leg of a 3-legged dog, where it wasn't really needed.
Yeah, he was battling for it for sure. But you said in the pre-final, it seemed to me, and I haven't looked at video or anything, but it just looked like he tried to make the outside move. I was thinking about that. All these guys parking it on the apex. Well, as long as you're not trying the inside move, you can roll the outside if he tries to park it. So that was what happened. But and again, there was no call that we heard of in terms of contact. It just seems like he may have gone off the outside of the track. So again, like you said though, Dave, championship Sunday battle, top 4 points, battling it out. You throw Anderson Leonard in there, you throw Parker DeLong in there. Leonard ends up with the win. Sorensen 2nd, DeLong 3rd. Sorensen wins the championship by 59 points over Miles. Leonard with that win, jumping up to the 3rd spot. It was an exciting weekend, all told, for the drivers in the Mini Swift class. I thought the racing was pretty good otherwise, but there was a little bit of bodywork, contact, little action, I think, especially up front.
Not only up front, but throughout the field, because we saw, actually, that was really the only category we saw some issues at the start. We had a couple guys getting turned sideways there in turn 1 on the start, collecting a number of other drivers with them as well. So, it's just, again, it's, this is a top level and everybody's going for it. And sometimes, the risk is much more worse than what the gain would have been. And that's what happens sometimes when some of these young drivers, again, 10 to 12-year-old drivers are doing out there. Yeah,
Dave, and they have that propensity when they come out of turn number 1 to do that whole sawing on the wheel thing to try to they think they're making gaps. You know what I mean? That's where we get in the mid-pack. Guys are like sawing on the wheel to try to knock guys around them, and they end up climbing on top of each other instead of just holding your spots and trying to get through the opening couple of corners. Hey, on the other side of the spectrum, I thought the Micro Swift drivers, again, did an amazing job. Not as many of them on the racetrack, but man, they really took care of each other, and the racing was just really, really good in that class, I thought.
No, but it was one of the largest fields that we saw all year with 23 drivers, so 10 more than we saw in Utah. So really great to see the growth in the numbers in that category. But up front, it was basically all nitro kart all weekend long.
It was. Austin Olds, though, qualifying on the pole position on Saturday. Spencer Conrad stepped up in the pre-final to grab that pre-final. Ends up qualifying on the pole, of course, for the main. And then at one point, it was Ayrton Grimm and Spencer Conrad locked up. Jack Iliff got in there as well. But David, it was once the Nitro guys got hooked up, they were definitely working together. That's for sure.
They were. Conrad and Grimm have been racing all year long together, so they've really put together a great partnership, working together on racetrack. But and then when it comes to the last lap, it's anything goes. And on Saturday, Grimm was able to come out with the victory ahead of Iliff, with Conrad finishing there in third. But the second place finish by Iliff essentially gave him the championship in the Micro Swift category.
Yeah, indeed. Like you said, coming off that really strong weekend at Utah, where Jack was able to win both races, had that momentum coming in, big points as well, of course, being able to get that done, and And then, as you said, kind of fighting there. The top four guys were all on top of each other. But it's always cool to see a driver get their first ever Pro Tour victory, and I was pretty happy for Aaron Grimm. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, and again, we saw it again on Sunday as Conrad was able to grab his first Pro Tour victory of his career in his first, I believe, Pro Tour start. So,
and I was just going to throw Cameron Weinberg in there to make it top three drivers all Nitro. And Carson. I keep saying Cameron. Yeah. Carson. And again, as soon as that happened, it was over. They just they pulled away.
It was interesting how it was going to unfold, because we thought, the guys were just, again, waiting for the last lap. As they were coming to the white flag, we had a little bit of contact as Grimm kind of drove over the right rear of Conrad as they went through the scoreboard corner. So that kind of gave Conrad a little bit of a gap over Grimm and Weinberg, because Weinberg was right there as well, had nowhere to go, and essentially got stuck behind Grimm as they came out of that corner. So that gave Conrad a clean drive to the checkered flag, and then Weinberg was able to get ahead of Grimm at the line for the second spot.
Overall, as you said, a couple of the drivers that did so well on the weekend weren't at the opening rounds of the series. So Jack Iliff ends up getting the championship. Logan Chambers, who actually was kind of a top five guy all weekend, had a couple of good runs in the pre-final and the final, was able to work his way up a little bit forward. Chambers ends up second overall, Dave, and Graham Trammell rounding out the top three drivers of the overall championship for the Micro Swift class.
Yep. Overall, again, a good performance by Iliff, scoring his first Pro Tour victory. But with Iliff scoring 2 victories in Utah, and then 2 different winners here, 2 different winners in Cal Speed, we had 5 different winners in the Micro Swift category this year.
Pretty solid, folks. Well, there it is. That's your race report from the Superkarts USA Summer Nationals, the final round of the 2019 SCUSA Pro Tour. After this quick break, David and I are going to come back. We'll do a quick wrap-up, and then we'll look at the EKN Trackside Live race calendar for the remainder of the August and September weeks. Stick with us. More to come. Carts, parts, engines, tires, and tools. At SharkShifter.com, what you need is just a click away. We carry the biggest names in chassis, like Tony Kart and FA, DR Kart, CRG, and VLR. We have new chassis and all the parts you need. At SharkShifter.com, we also stock top-quality replacement parts from Swift components, like axles, sprockets, and hubs. We have the inventory you need for your stock Honda as well, from cylinders, heads, and engine parts to reeds, exhaust pipes, ignition covers, radiators, air filters, and air boxes. We build our own billet aluminum components as well, including motor mounts and clutch levers. Need to add to your toolbox? We offer alignment tools, brake, battery, and exhaust tools, tire gauges, and hand tools. Stop messing around getting your seat in the right position. We have a seat mounting system that makes it easy. Check the website for monthly specials. If you need it, we can get it to you fast. We ship the same day. SharkShifter.com, your online source for carts and parts. The 2019 season marks the 20th anniversary for PSL Karting, North America's importer and distributor for the legendary Burrell Art brand. PSL Karting is your complete source for all things Burrell Art, providing this top-quality product both through their expansive dealer network or through their own PSLkarting.com online store. We have over 100 Burrell Art carts in stock at all times. We can provide you with a turnkey package with an IAME, Rotax, Rock, or Briggs power plant, complete and ready to race. Whatever you need is available 24/7 at our online store, including parts and components, consumables like AMSOIL, Motul, and Rotax XPS engine oil, and Vroom lubricants, Micron data acquisition systems, and Unipro, and of course driver safety gear from Bell, Arai, Freem, and Alpine Stars. Trackside, we're also the karting distributor for Bell Racing USA. Arrive and drive programs, supported by PSL's experienced staff and our in-house engine program, are available for all major US and Canadian events. When you're ready to win, call PSL Karting or visit one of our dealers. And as always, head to pslkarting.com.
Kartlift has been designing, engineering, and building innovative kart stands since 2003. Our flagship model Winchlift LT is the motorized workhorse of our kart stand lineup and should be the foundation of your karting program. When it comes to test days or race days, the Winchlift is an invaluable tool that allows you to head to the track to test and tune anytime, knowing that your kart will easily be lifted with the press of a button. Add our innovative winch stacker, and now you can double stack 2 carts on top of a folded down winch lift, saving space in your trailer or garage. If a lifting kart stand isn't for you, then one of our traditional folding scissor stands, double or triple stacker stands, or upright stand should fill the need. Every one of our kart stands features flat-free wheels and casters and a durable powder coat finish. Check out our full stand lineup as well as our chassis skid plates, tire changers, and accessories at kartlift.com. That's www.kartlift.com.
Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network. Almost wrapped up with this podcast, looking at the SuperKarts USA Summer Nationals final round of the Pro Tour. It's the debrief, number 54 of this particular podcast. David, let's wrap things up as we always do. Let's have a look at the Constructors' Championship breakdown. 8 different brands, I believe, or is it more than that? 9 brands, I think, scored race wins?
Yeah, I miscounted that when I wrote this script here. But yeah, 9 different brands. I had to recount them twice because I had the numbers wrong. It added up to 25. I'm like, that doesn't add up right. So let me redo this. Tony Kart ended up coming out with 5 victories on the weekend to lead all chassis brands. FA Kart finishing up in second with 4 victories. We had 3 different chassis with 3 wins each. Croc Promotion, Comp Kart, and Cosmic each had 3 victories. CRG gaining 2 with Brett Harrelson. Nitro Kart gaining their 2 victories in Micro Swift. And then Kart Republic and Burrell Arts are each earning 1 on the weekend.
We'll use those, and of course, add them up in our EKN Constructors Championship. I'll look for an update on that later on down the line. David, to wrap things up, an almost record turnout, more categories this year on the Pro Tour, of course, so that kind of, let's temper that a little bit, knowing the fact that there's just more classes as well. Largest event for the 2019 season, and regardless, 4 drivers getting an opportunity to represent SuperKarts USA at the IAME International Final in Le Mans, France in October.
Yeah, we have Ryan Norberg, Matt Johnson, Freddie Slater. They're doing senior, master, and we're thinking junior might not be the class for Slater because of his age, so he might be doing the mini category. Kai Sorensen won the ticket in Mini Swift, but we're kind of hearing that he might not be taking the ticket. So we'll find out and confirm that later in the next couple of weeks.
Obviously, big news in terms of 4-time champions on the series as well. The 10th edition of the Pro Tour. Jordan Musser, who's been a longtime driver on the tour, 4 championships, not consecutively, but 4 championships for Jordan in the S4 and G1 classes. There's just not much you can say about Ryan Norberg winning 4 straight SCUSA national championships. It's just it's incredible.
Yeah, there's not much more we can say about it, but other than, can we do 5?
That's it. 4 schmore. Let's do 5 now. You're nothing.
There's 5 fingers on a hand. I want to see 5.
I like that. Also, the first time we said before,
right? 1 for the thumb.
That's it. What was that?
I believe that was Brady. Wasn't? No, it was Jordan. 1 for the thumb. I'm pretty sure it was Jordan.
Are you sure it wasn't? I
don't know.
I'm pretty sure that Gianluca Baggio won 4 championships.
Yeah,
for Burrell. First time we saw a driver stand on the podium in both the Pro Shifter and the X30 Senior category in one day. Impressive for Billy Musgrave. Just an all-around talent, right? He's easily one of the top drivers in the country.
Sorry, I was looking up the thumb thing. Billy Musgrave. Yeah, again, we need to confirm that he is the first driver to do it, to be able to stand up on the podiums for both categories in the same day. But again, easily one of the top 5 drivers in the country, regardless of whether you're talking shifter or X30 Senior, I believe.
So for SuperKarts USA, focusing on a couple more events still to come, the California Pro Kart Challenge has a couple of races in September at Santa Maria and, of course, the Streets of Lancaster Grand Prix. Earlier in the month, mid-month, September 13th, 14th, 15th, Texas Pro Kart Challenge wrapping up their season at Houston at Speed Sports Racing Complex. And David, did you finally get the update on what's one for the thumb?
Well, Google's telling me Pittsburgh Steelers had that saying going, and then obviously Tom Brady, because he does have 6.
There you go. And again, of course, SCUSA wrapping things up in November. We're all looking forward to getting to Super Nationals number 23. Let's move it on, but we'll cap it off with our EKN Trackside Live race calendar, presented today by Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires. If the dream is IndyCar, set your target on the Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires. This unparalleled ladder system is designed to take drivers through 3 rungs of competition, beginning with USF 2000 and progressing through Indy Pro 2000 and Indy Lights. Along the way, each series champion receives a scholarship to race at the next level. If you want to race IndyCar, there's only one choice: the Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires. And interesting, David, talking about Road to Indy, a couple of ex-SCUSA Pro Tour drivers doing pretty damn good right now. Oliver Askew and Kyle Kirkwood leading the championship right now, heading into the next events.
Since you mentioned their names, I just want to say, look at what they did when they were in Supercarts USA. They ran shifter carts.
They did run shifter carts.
We're not seeing a lot of these kids that are moving up running shifter carts. They're moving right from junior into open wheel cars. I don't know what the correct path is, but we've seen it early on with AJ Allmendinger and Mike McDowell all running 80 shifters. Could it be a common thing?
Hey, Scott Speed ran 80 shifter as well.
There you go, Scott Speed. Ferrucci's kind of an anomaly because he just took off and went and did what he needed to do right away. I don't think Piggott ever ran shifter carts though, but there wasn't really the opportunity there because it was basically ICA. It was kind of in between when the Stars and CKI type deal was going on. But I really
Oliver. I was going to say Oliver and Kyle. One thing about them is, too, when they rolled into the Road to Indy, they were 18, 19 years of age. They weren't 14 or 15-year-old kids, right? They ran senior karting, and you and I talk a lot about how senior karting is different than junior. When you get in there, you gotta muscle up. You got to get used to that kind of stuff, and they made the transition look easy. So.
Yeah, and I wanted to segue the shifter part to watching shifter karts at the upcoming Rock Island Grand Prix, because if there's anything, and again, you mentioned Scott Speed, we got Bobby Wilson, we got Alan Rudolph, Kyle Wiegand, all these shifter kart studs have all won at the Rock Island Grand Prix, and we're going to get to see the 25th edition this Labor Day weekend. Yeah, we just had the podcast that I did with Roger Ruthart running this week on the EKN Radio Network. So our first EKN Trackside Live event on the race calendar, August 31st, September 1st, David Cole heading back to the 25th running of the Rock Island Grand Prix in Rock Island, Illinois, the awesome street race. David will be doing the broadcast along with Tim Coyne, but you're also bringing the helmet, doing some more driving again. Yeah, I can't even remember. I think this is like my 9th straight year racing there or something like that. Going to get back with Margay Racing, going to race in the Ignite category, the Masters class. And this will be my first time, aside from what we did kind of at Indy, but this is my first time racing Rock Island now with the Ignite program on the Hoosier tires. So I've been driving it with the Bridgestone tires the last few years. 2015 was my first year. I didn't run Ignite last year, but heading there back again with the Ignite program, and excited to see what it's going to be like, because I'm hearing a lot of tough guns are going to be in the Masters class this year. Well, you're one of the top guns there, Dave. You've always done well at Rock Island. If you stay out of the wall, you got a chance to win. So I look forward to seeing what you're going to be able to do. I'll be at Portland for the IndyCar race. I was going to say, you're not going to see it. You're going to be disappointed watching Race Monitor. I'll be watching Race Monitor. Make sure you come around every time, you dumbass. I don't want to see you falling down the order. After that, 2 weeks after that, September 13th, 14th, 15th, I head down to Speed Sports Racing Park. In Houston, Texas. Alan Rudolph and the family there will welcome everybody in for the Texas Pro Kart Challenge, final event of the Pro Kart Challenge for 2019. And the week after that, David, you're at home for both these weekends. I am back at it, Streets of Lancaster Grand Prix the following weekend. Looking forward to being there for the SCUSA finale. Always fun at the Streets of Lancaster event. And at both of those races, David, I will have no doubt be stopping at In and Out Burger. Yeah, I know. I've already prepared my body since I knew I wasn't going to get any till Vegas. I prepared my body, so we're good to go till November. It's okay. We saw the Alavia brothers this weekend. They're bugging us about Whataburger and how beautiful and amazing and gorgeous the burgers are, and I keep telling them it's crap, but they don't believe me. But I prepared myself to wait till November. It's okay. It's kind of like I'm on a leave. It's like I'm fighting a war over here in Michigan where there's no In-N-Out Burger, and I'm going to keep fighting that fight until November.
And David, it'll be like Christmas in November for you.
Oh, that Tuesday when I land and get to that In-N-Out Burger, remember those reunions that you used to see in the old days of war heroes coming back with, the girl kissing the guy. It'll be like that with me, the burger.
That's good. We'll get a picture of that then. You kissing the burger.
I'll even put my leg up, kind of the back leg up a little bit.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, and folks, it's not in September. It's actually in October. We're not even sure if we're going to go trackside live with it yet. We may. We haven't even talked about with Greg Jasperson, but David and I are going to essentially wrap up our season before the Super Nats. At least my season. I'll get our last driving event is going to be the first week of October. Both David and I in the Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals. I think that's going to be a big event. A lot of people talking about it, Dave. Newcastle Motorsports Park. You'll be there 4 times in total, I think.
That'll be my third trip because the weekend after will be the WK Manufacturers Cup finale for 2019. So I'll be back to back at Newcastle again. The first weekend I probably will be a little bit more enjoyable because we'll be getting to drive. I'll be with CRG Nordam. You'll be with some other team that I don't want to talk about right now, but.
PSL Karting, Mark Steele on a Ricardo chassis for the Robster.
I know. Guys are already talking smack to us this weekend.
Well, listen, you were talking smack to me too, and yes, they were talking smack to us, and I'm all for it. Bring it on.
I mean, how can Curtis Fox talk smack? He never races a Briggs.
That's true. Well, at least not again. You sure he's not raced a Briggs in Canada at least once?
He said he's never raced it.
All right. Well, all we got to do is push him off an I-70. We don't have to worry about him again anyways.
It's perfect. Yeah.
Exactly.
No cameras there.
Nope. That's it. All right, folks, we're done for this particular edition of the podcast. I know it was a long one. Thank you so much for sticking with us. We appreciate it. Awesome weekend at the Superkarts USA Summer Nats. 10 years. Congratulations to Tom and Patty Kutcher and the whole staff for 10 years of Pro Tour racing, national championships, SCUSA racing. Lots more races for them here this year. Santa Maria.
I was going to say Aaron Likens 10 years too. We didn't mention
Aaron Likens, Tony Leone, I believe, as well.
Tony Leone.
All the races. Myself, all the races.
I think Stan's been part of it since then too, as well.
I'm not sure if he's made all the events though. I have a feeling he may have missed one or two. But he may have. Stan Bernarski may have been in there too. But it's been a great run, ladies and gentlemen, for them, and many more years to come for Superkarts USA. They've got a good program lined up for next year. We'll find out where they're going. But David, national championship's done. I'm sure a press release will be coming out soon with the full confirmation of all the number plates for next year. Who won what awards? A lot, obviously, everybody in the podium getting tires again. A lot of Avinco tires going out to the people that made the podium in both days of competition. We want to thank everyone for joining us. David, any final words?
Oh, and weekend cash winners. They'll calculate those again as well too, and announce, because I think we had, how many categories did we have above 30?
You pull the sheet out. I got it in front of me here.
We had Mini Swift above 30, X30 Junior getting above 30. We had
X30 Senior.
That's it.
That's it.
So I mean, if we combine KA100 Junior and Senior, we'd have over 30, but that doesn't work. All
right, folks, we're done for this particular edition. We got some great stuff coming up. I got a podcast lined up at Industry Insider with Justin Stefani. We're going to have a This Week in Karting coming up again soon as well. And I'm also lining up Ryan Norberg for edition 2 of the Book It podcast. Guys won 4 straight championships. We're going to sit down with Ryan Norberg and talk a little bit about what it means to him to have had this kind of success over the last 4 years. Folks, on behalf of David Cole, thank you so much for joining us. My name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.